Tell them how important the crumbs are.
Well, the crumbs are very important because it takes crumbs to make the loaf. And so that's another part of the analogy of this. When you talk about the crumbs, I'm a crumb. If all the crumbs get together, we can make a viable meal.
Yes.
And share our talents one with the other. It's hard for me to say, well, you're going to be okay. Don't worry about it. I'm walking around free. I'm going to get my little kid and go back up the road to Waco in a little while. And I'm not confined in that area, but I have some confinements. I would just share with them, if they are believers, God has not forgotten them. And to find someone, it may just be one person, but find one person that you can talk back and forth. Encouragement is perpetual. It has to have give and take. But you find you one person that you feel safe enough with, that you can talk with, even if it's the worst thoughts in the world.
This is Dr. Rodney Duckett with the lively art of conversation, where we live, we learn, we earn, my goodness, and we pass it along. Tune in and listen to us every Sunday from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. as we give you our story with the lively art of conversation. Hey, you know who it is. It is Dr. Rodney Duckett with the lively art of conversation. And we are back here. It is a new, fresh week. And I'm telling you, this show is near and dear to me. And you're going to find out why it's near and dear. So we'll be right back once we talk to our underwriters.
This is Lavina Sabri with So Natural Catering and Bomb A Lemonade. And you're listening to the lively art of conversation.
Hello. This is Rodney Duckett with the lively art of conversation. As we live, we learn, we earn, and we pass that wisdom along. Join us every Sunday from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. as we bring to you our story. You bring your story, we give you our story, and our story is how we engage in our community. Everybody has a story, and we're waiting to hear your story. So if you're interested, reach out to us at livelyartofconversation@gmail.com.
Looking to elevate your brand or capture unforgettable moments? New Image Media offers top-tier videography, photography, personal branding, and more. They combine creativity and quality with fair pricing and friendly service so you get the results you want. Whether it's a business promo or special occasion, they bring your vision to life with quality you can trust. Choose New Image Media, where your image is everything. For more info, email media@newimagemiallc.com. Words have power. They connect, heal, and inspire. That's the mission at Better Watch Your Tone, LLC, founded by Toni B. Shelton. She's empowering through powerful poetry and prose, with hundreds impacted through speaking events, workshops, and 8 self-published books. Ready to honor the story within? Discover books and coaching at betterwatchyourtone.com. For event poetry or book writing support, email ToniShelton@gmail.com. Let's use our words to uplift. Better watch your tone. You've built a life worth celebrating. Now it's time to be seen. At Las Foto de Lance Photography, they don't just take portraits, they capture the fire in your spirit and the power in your presence. Whether you're reclaiming your confidence, owning your story, or stepping into a new chapter, Las Foto de Lance Photography creates luxury images that reflect the real you. Visit lasfotodelance.net or drop by their Harker Heights studio. Las Foto de Lance Photography, unapologetically you, immortalized.
Hello, this is Dr. Rodney Duckett with the Heritage Legacy Curators. You're looking for something for your kids to do this summer? Well, reach out to me at Impact Outreach, IMPAC Outreach @gmail.com, because Heritage Legacy Curators is all about collecting oral history. So if you have stories that you would love to pass down to your kids, or if you have a project that maybe your kids need to do as it relates to oral history, bring those family albums out and we'll sit there and we'll sort through those family albums. So that way we can collect those stories and keep those stories within the family, so that way they can be the next speakers to curate your family reunion. Hey, we're back here with the Lively Art of Conversation. I'd like to give a special thanks to our underwriters. They mean so much to me because they've taken the time to believe in me and also give me that little financial push to keep this show for going on. This is a very, very special show for me today, and I'll explain to you why it's a special show. But before that, let's get down to some really nitty-gritty business. Where's your journal? Do you have your journal? Do you have your scratch paper? Are you ready to write some things down? Well, I got the quote of the day for you. But first, the word is going to be outcomes. That's the word I want you to hold on to, is outcomes, all right? Now, the quote is, no matter the results, you control the outcomes, okay? And I say that for this specific reason. A lot of times we focus on the results, but results are never final because you can make the adjustment to the results to give you the outcomes which you need to be better at what you're trying to do. So here's the thought-provoking question that I want you guys to answer. What results have been keeping you from your true outcome? What results have been keeping you from your true outcome? Think about that for a second. There is some failure that you've had that you gave up on, but was that failure a teaching point for you to begin to learn, to go back to those results, to come back at it harder again, so that way you can have those outcomes which are successful outcomes. So keep in mind, outcomes is a word today. No matter the results, you control the outcome, and what results have been keeping you from your outcome. Like I said, this is a very special show for me here today. And I'll tell you why. Remember, I kept telling you guys, for years, I was on this talk show called the Focus Talk Show, and this gentleman that is like a father figure, a mentor to me, he would invite me on the show because I was just that antagonist type villain that was on his show. But he would always open up the show and say, hello, I'm Reverend Roscoe Harrison, and you're watching the Focus Show, where we practice the lively art of conversation. I love that lively art of conversation because I told him if I ever got a chance to use that, can I use that? And he said, go ahead. It's just something I came up with. So reason why I have this show is based off of the name, the lively art of conversation. I wouldn't have done it any other way. And what I liked about this gentleman, Mr. Reverend Roscoe Harrison, is he was a conversationalist to the core. He can hold his best with anybody on the stick. And I admired that about him. Not the fact that he was the last one to interview Dr. King. Not the fact that he was the first one to get a library card in Belton that was black. Not the fact that he was the first black anchor. Not the fact that he sat on the board of directors for Scotland White. But the mere fact when the mic was in his hand, magic was appearing. Because he just had a way to move the audience. But he also had siblings. And those siblings went on to do great things. And I became very close friends with my guest right here. Now, just like his brother, he has a pedigree like no other. And he was the first disc jockey in this area. He was one of the first weathermen in this area. He had his first own television show called The Forum in this area. So just equivalent to his brother, he was doing the exact same thing. I think this household build conversationalists, because every time I'm with him, we have a in-depth conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, my special guest for you guys today is none other than my good friend, my brother, my mentor, my spiritual guide, Dr. George Harrison.
How are you today?
Sir, I'm doing good. I feel that I've been trying to fill these shoes.
Oh, wow.
And there's some big shoes to fill. I can't lie. There's some big shoes. Between you and Reverend Roscoe Harrison, it's hard for me to fill these shoes.
You are a staple person in this community. I've looked up to you for so many years, and I think Roscoe did as well. You're always supporting everybody. I remember being in crowds, and there you were. You were in the crowd, and you never tried to usurp your abilities. I've never seen you act in a narcissistic way. Your gifts speak to you.
Thank you.
And you've done a lot. And we appreciate everything you've done for my brother, myself, and for countless others.
Thank you. And that means a lot to me because it's kind of funny. Here's the evolution of me. When I came to this area, one of the first people I met was Babatunde under one roof. He knew I was living in Temple. He told me to meet Miss Bennett Curtis. So I actually accidentally met Miss Burnett Curtis at the library. I was in the library. I seen this lady. We just got talking. I didn't know who she was. Then later on, I called this lady and we started talking on the phone. And I said, hey, your voice sounds very familiar. And she says, yours too. I said, was you at the library? I said, yeah. Well, we were actually talking to each other at the library, which was funny. So then she said, let's meet. So she invited me to her home. She didn't know who I was. She invited me to her home and we sat down. And one of the names that she rattled off, there was a few names that she rattled off. She told me that if I'm going to go to school, I need to go talk to Miss Virginia Leak over at Temple College. And then she says, and if there's anything you need to know about the history of Bell County, you got to get with the Harrison brothers. So I went to 8th Street Baptist Church. I attended a service that was there. I remember going up to Reverend Roscoe Harrison. I introduced myself. He said, you ain't from these parts, are you? And I said, no, sir, I'm not. Where you from? I said, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Oh, Black Wall Street. And that's how our relationship began. And then later on, I remember meeting you. Well, I seen you a couple of times. I was a little paranoid with you because you kind of scared me because when you done that, I have a dream. I was like, oh, I ain't on that level. I don't know if I'm supposed to go talk to him or what after that. But then I think our relationship flourished when I started going to UMHB. And one thing I would say I'm very appreciative about you and your brother and even Prince, because I know Prince too, is the fact that you've always treated me like family. And that really means a lot to me.
Well, you're very open. People can be, I have the saying, people that have favor are not often liked.
Oh, yes.
It is a problematic issue, and it's nothing to do with race. It has to do with mankind. You're very gifted, and you really just blessed me already by the brother that you mentioned that really doesn't get on the scene is my brother Prince.
Oh, yes.
Now, he's the one with the money.
Yeah, he does.
He's the one with the money. I hope he listens to this. He's been an entrepreneur all of his life. Nobody really knows about him. He owns a business called Optimum Fitness.
Yes, he does.
And he trains like Mr. Universe.
Yes, he does.
And all this. Has a pharmaceutical company now.
Yes, he does.
He's been selling product to GNC, to a lot of places. But he just doesn't say much. But he's got the money, and he's very tight with it. You hear me, Prince? I hope you hear me. And, very tight. That's why he got money.
Yes.
In fact, it was funny. We were having a conversation, and he comes in. He goes to church now. And he says, I'm so tired of Thomas. He's a they hire him to do personal training. He said that Thomas won't follow orders. I said, is he in Dallas? He said, yeah, he's in Dallas. He said, he passed the church up there. I said, yeah. I said, what size church? He's pretty big. I said, Thomas who? And he said, well, his middle name is D, Thomas Jakes. And I go, you go to his house? He said, 4 times a week.
Oh.
I said, why don't you take me along? Take me along as a child carrier. I just like to see his house. And so he does personal training.
For TD Jakes.
TD Jakes.
Wow.
And God knows what to do, because if it had been me, I'd have been trying to talk about this church or that church. He has no agenda. He goes in and does his thing and gives him a diet, and he lost a little weight. He factory wrote a whole book, Dropping the Weight. That's when he started writing that book.
Right. It's amazing because, honestly, for years, I did not know Prince was your brother. I met Prince when I was bodybuilding years ago.
He's a bodybuilding
guy. And I just met him by accident, and was at a show and we were talking, and he was giving me some information about how to get endorsers when I was bodybuilding years ago. And we got to talking, and I knew his last name was Harrison, but he was coming from Dallas.
Yep.
So I said, any chance are you related to the Harrison brothers here? He said, those are my brothers.
Yeah.
I said, what? He said, those are my brothers. So we got to talking. He's like, oh, you know the family well, don't you? I said, yeah. I'm like your little brother you knew nothing about. So we just laughed and talked and everything. But that, it just shows it doesn't matter if I knew him or didn't know him or whatever. He even brought me in at that time to help me out, and he treated me as if I was a little brother. It's just something about this brotherhood that you guys got as a Harrison. But before we do that, tell me a little bit about you, your background, your family, Belton, the roots, all of that.
Well, I am from Belton. I've lived there in 39 years, and just proud of it. My father worked at Cochran, Blair & Potts. It was the largest department store in Bell County for a while. In fact, he dropped dead in that store.
Oh, wow.
December 16th, 1967. I was a real young fella, and I came to the reality. My dad would tickle me. He says, you're not supposed to be here, because I'm like 10 years behind everybody else. He said, you was a oops. He said, "Oops, preacher," and they told me oops. And so my brother's older than myself. And
yes.
There's two of us left now. I started preaching when I was 6 years old. At Magnolia First Baptist Church it was on Pearl Street. Now they moved. But my father was chairman. I preached the cherub choir and played piano there. I've been playing. I can't remember when I didn't play piano. I'm a pianist.
Yes.
And so kind of started there and moved on as we moved on through time. I'm writing a story right now called Life's Lessons from My Mama's House.
Yes, you are.
And it's got a lot of true stories in it and stuff. And one of the stories is how my mother made me stand on my own 2 feet. She said, "I can't pay your lunch anymore after the first grade." I said, "How am I going to pay my lunch?" So she took me in the front yard, said, "There's a Coke bottle over there in the corner, Pepsi. They were 5 cents a bottle." So she said, "You collect 21 bottles a day. That's $1.05 a day. You give God his tithe. You give me 25 cents, but put 20 cents back in your pocket and keep the other by your lunch."
Oh, wow.
So I've been buying my own lunch since 6 years old.
Oh, wow. Wow.
It's kind of a thing of survival to be, multi-diversified in what you do.
Yes.
Kind of like I'm trying to catch up with you.
No, you're beyond me.
You're very diversified. But from there, I went to school through there and got a full scholarship. My piano playing, full scholarship to Mary Hardin Baylor. Got an offer to Baylor. Got one to North Texas State. North Texas State has great lab bands.
Yeah.
It's a young lady here too, but y'all don't know a guy named Doc Severson.
No, I don't.
Yeah, he was a trumpeter for Tonight Show under Johnny Carson for years.
Oh, wow.
Excellent. He was at North Texas State. I met him there as a young man. I think he's dead now, but he was excellent. And I just could not afford the fees going to North Texas. I couldn't. My mother was here by herself, so I chose the great school of Mary Hardin Baylor. Very kind to me. I played, wrote music, and traveled and recruited for them, and eventually ended up in Waco. Called to a church there and worked from off and on various capacities for Baylor since '87. So going on 39 years. I'm currently the church relations officer for Truett, great seminary, and named after one of the greatest pastors Southwest. Used to be pastor First Baptist Dallas. And so I go around recruiting young men like you young ladies if they want to get, enhance themselves as far as theological studies. It's a great place to be. But that I'm just a old preacher trying to preach and stay alive.
No, you're more than an old preacher, because if you go back into your life and look how you and your brothers got started in this I don't even know how to describe it. I guess it would be the showman role, because you guys were showmen, because you had your own, you were a disc jockey when you were a kid.
Well, Roscoe brought me into it. KTM, which is housed in this building, used to be on First Street. It's a parking lot right now. It used to be across the street from the Temple paper.
Yes.
Frank Mayburn owned that, and he owned several other things. And he hired Roscoe at 16 years old. And Roscoe's 10 years old. I was 6. I was the opening piano player for him. It's called A Variety of Talent. He was the first African-American to be on, it was 15, then he moved to a 30-minute program. And Ms. Baird's Bread was his sponsor. So we always bought Ms. Baird's Bread. And so I played the piano on that, and my middle brother Prince was a trumpet player. He'd help sometime and play a little opening role. And from there, they hired Roscoe to go to the newspaper, and he wrote for them, good writer. From there, he went to become the first black African-American anchor. And he said, go out there and talk to the people at KCN. And I did. And I was very interested in meteorological work, so they helped me to go to Mississippi State to gain meteorological certification. I was the first African-American meteorologist here for a long time. So worked with them back and forth, and Roscoe moved on to San Antonio to a larger paper. From there, he met somebody at the Johnson's Group in Chicago and moved to Chicago and started working for Jet and Johnson's magazine.
Wow.
And you mentioned it, he was the last one to interview King before he went down and assassinated, and they were part of a Pulitzer Prize winning team. And so I didn't go as far as that, all that kind of thing, but I do what I do, and I did have a television program, one for Baylor, we had one for WISD, and I produced one for a couple of public stations out in Killeen, but stayed at 10 years for Channel 10 years, called The Forum.
The Forum, yes. Tell us about The Forum.
Well, The Forum started out, was called Minority Forum. When I got there, I wanted to change the trend because it kind of limited the program to just minority, inclusion. It was nobody else. And so I asked them, could we just name it The Forum? Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to include women groups. I wanted to include the differentially disabled. I wanted to include other agencies. And so it expanded. And they really treated me nice. It was under Mr. Bostic at that time, and hired me to write commercials for his bank. It was American Bank. They have 3 locations, I think, in Waco.
Yes.
And so I wrote commercials for that and for them, and worked there off and on over 10 years. Same thing with KCN on the Frank Mabrins group. I think about 8 years, 9 years.
Yes.
Then I moved on. But the crazy thing that you don't know, I used to be a railroad engineer.
See that? Let's unpack that.
Okay. I was at Mary Hardin Baylor. Dr. Bobby Parker offered me a full ride there, and I played music and ride, recruit and went to school.
Yes.
And so at the end of the day, when I was about to graduate, a graduate from there, at a double major, he said, I'm going to hire you to come and do some community stuff for us. And he said, I can only pay you like $30,000. I said, that's great. He said, but this guy over here wants to talk to you. And this guy is a white gentleman named Bob Gaines. And he was over there. And I said, what do you do? He said, I'm the superintendent for then Santa Fe Railroad. Now it's Burlington Northern and Santa Fe. He said, we're the second or third largest transportation company. He said, we're looking for African Americans, especially males, to become an engineer. I said, really? He said, you're pretty good at math? I said, pretty good. And Dr. Parker said, I can only pay like 30. I said, well, what do you do? He said, I'm going to start you out. They call it a fireman. I wish I could go into it, but he said, I'm going to start you. We can't start you anything but less than 80,000. I said, excuse me, Dr. Parker. I'm not trying to shut you down, but let's talk, sir. And so I'm still certified. They sent me through school. I literally know how to airflow, pneumatical, electrical, and let's see, I'm certified in electrical engineering, pneumatical engineering, and mechanical engineering. As far as when you hear a train, the big roar, that's not running the train. That's a diesel engine that runs electric motors underneath the train. And if you hear it start whining, like the largest train in the world is a coal train. Those black and either black and red. They're over a mile long, and they have engines in between called RCE units, remote control units. And what they do, they what they call dynamic braking. If they're going down a 10% grade and the thing's so heavy, it reverses the polarity of the wheels, like pushing 2 magnets against each other.
Okay.
And it helps keep the train in balance. And when you get on a certain keel, you cut it off and the train can keep going. But it helps balance that train out because it's so hard to control the airflow. So, I mean, I worked for the railroad many years and got called to preach, and same guy that hired me called me and said, you keep taking off because you don't get any days off on the railroad. You have to lay off.
Yeah, those guys work.
You have to lay off. And there's no days off. Christmas, nothing. They never shut down. But you go on a big board, and so you can just lay off. I'm going to take off a couple of days. If I'd have worked every day, I'd have made $10,000 a month. Easy.
Oh, my goodness.
And I just couldn't. It's hard to do it. And so I kept laying off on Sundays. He said, I know you're preaching, Brother George. I know you're preaching. You got to make up your mind. You're going to be a railroader. You're going to be a preacher. That's a no-brainer. I'm going to preach.
Yeah. Wow.
So I left there, and 39 years later, 43 years later, I'm in my 63rd year of preaching since a kid. But 45 years later, here I am still. I didn't starve. And every time I hear that train go by down there it passes by the mills, I say, Lord, I hope you will make this friend of mine. Became a superintendent. That's what I would have been. And he was right there at 8th Street. He's now up in Oklahoma, Kansas, somewhere pastoring. I said, man, how much you making now? He said, I clear about $300,000 a year, my retirement, not making as much as I used to. And he had a nice Corvette, and I was so angry. I said, I know I was jealous. I went out and put my thumbprint on it. I said, I just put some thumbprints on that car. It was too clean. It was too clean, man. And every time that train go by, I say, Lord, I sure hope you were right. But I used to be a railroad engineer.
Wow. You are what we call a gentleman scientist, because if you look at it, like, you have done the whole oral history bit. Of course, you're a preacher, meteorology, and then now you're getting into engineering. And,
it was fun.
And golly,
I loved it, man. It was.
You're rounded, man.
It was. Well, they'll try to cast people like myself, this young lady too. They'll say, you're the jack of all trades. I said, I'm not a jack of all trades. I'm just a master of a few.
Woo! Yeah, I like that.
That's my saying. I'm not a jack of all trades, but I'm just a master of a few. Whatever I'm doing, I want to master it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm not a jack of. I can't do certain things, but the things I do, I want to do them well.
Yes.
And so, because people try to cast you as somebody that has any purpose, you just kind of floating around. And one of the writers said, "You drifting." I'm not drifting. I'm on focus, but the things I focus on, not all those things at the same level,
Yes.
But the things that are at that level help me pull the other things. Like I'm not all this electronic and new stuff. There's cameras. I'm at least $30,000 of cameras in here. I'm going to learn how to do this. What you're doing right now, because I want to perpetuate broadcasting I need to do for biblical studies. And
that's the one right there.
I'm about to get consulted.
Yeah.
I remember when she's a little girl.
Yeah. I know. I was hearing you guys talking.
She's a little bitty.
Yeah.
Got same little face. Yeah. But that was a great experience. The train experience was unbelievable. They have a large school up in Topeka, Kansas. Huge, master levels when you come out. It's a master level. A lot of them didn't make it. I'm not to be narcissistic, but I was second in my class. There was a guy named Vaughn, a young white gentleman, had that good. He looked like he's a preacher. Had that blonde hair that could flip over just right. He beat me out by 2 points. He was very good. I don't know if he's still living or not, but I was second in my class.
Wow.
And
my goodness.
Never had one, what they call demerit. You get
demerit, yes.
Yeah, but the railroad's crazy. And I don't know how it is now, but you couldn't get fired. If you messed up, you had job insurance. And they lay you off for a while. You get paid anyway. Did you pay for that job insurance? A lot of those guys, y'all hear me out there, a lot of those guys, I think, did that stuff on purpose. So get that check. I never did. I never got one demerit.
Wow, my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, my. I am here with the legend himself,
Oh, Lord.
Dr. George Harrison, and we'll be right back.
Words have power. They connect, heal, and inspire. That's the mission at Better Watch Your Tone, LLC, founded by Toni B. Shelton. She's empowering through powerful poetry and prose, with hundreds impacted through speaking events, workshops, and 8 self-published books. Ready to honor the story within? Discover books and coaching at betterwatchyourtone.com. For event poetry or book writing support, email ToniShelton@gmail.com. Let's use our words to uplift. Better watch your tone. You've built a life worth celebrating. Now it's time to be seen. At Las Foto de Lance Photography, they don't just take portraits, they capture the fire in your spirit and the power in your presence. Whether you're reclaiming your confidence, owning your story, or stepping into a new chapter, Las Foto de Lance Photography creates luxury images that reflect the real you. Visit lasfotodelance.net or drop by their Harker Heights studio. Las Foto de Lance Photography, unapologetically you, immortalized. Looking to elevate your brand or capture unforgettable moments? New Image Media offers top-tier videography, photography, personal branding, and more. They combine creativity and quality with fair pricing and friendly service so you get the results you want. Whether it's a business promo or special occasion, they bring your vision to life with quality you can trust. Choose New Image Media, where your image is everything. For more info, email media@newimagemiallc.com.
This is Dr. Rodney Duckett with the Heritage Legacy Curators. You're looking for something for your kids to do this summer? Well, reach out to me at Impact Outreach, IMPAC outreach @gmail.com, because Heritage Legacy Curators is all about collecting oral history. So if you have stories that you would love to pass down to your kids, or if you have a project that maybe your kids need to do as it relates to oral history, bring those family albums out and we'll sit there and we'll sort through those family albums, so that way we can collect those stories and keep those stories within the family, so that way they can be the next speakers to curate your family reunion. Hey, this is Dr. Rodney Duckett. If you guys are interested in displaying your work through an ad, through an event, or anything else, if you would like to come on the show, please reach out to me at livelyartofconversation@gmail.com. Please reach out, because we have room and availability for you, but you have to get on the schedule before it books up. Like I said, we have a very special guest here today, Dr. George Harrison. He has pretty much tracked his whole life. I mean, probably before the age of 25, he's done more than what grown men have done. I mean, think about it. So at the age of 6, he was playing the piano for his brother when his brother had a show. Later on, he became a meteorologist. Later on, he got his own show. Later on, he worked for the railroad. He left railroad for preaching. He's worked at UMHB. He graduated from UMHB. He's worked for Baylor. My goodness. I mean, like, that is a heck of a stretch. Tell me, and you're a man of a ton of knowledge, what have you learned along the way to kind of mold the clay that we see here today as Dr. George Harrison?
Well, Dr. Duckett, I've learned this in life, to stay in my own lane.
Oh, yes.
I shared this with you the other day. There's a sermon that I preached, and I think I shared this with you, about a Syrophoenician woman who was rejected by Christ because of timing and dispensation. And he said, it's not right for me to give, her daughter was sick. And she was a Canaanite, so I believe she was a black woman from the land of Canaan, which was the fourth son of Ham, the first son of Noah. And I believe that she was a black woman. Solomon came out of that line. Many, Queen of Sheba, the Queen of Candace. But she came and beseeched Christ and begged him, said, my daughter is vexed, can you heal her? And he said, it's not right for me to give. And he said, the bread unto the dogs. She said, yeah, I'm a dog, but even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. And my analogy of that is that if there's healing in the loaf, there's healing in the crumbs. If there's joy, that'll preach, won't it? If there's joy in the loaf, there's joy in the crumbs.
Wow.
So if you just hang around the master's table and just wait for the crumbs, yeah, I don't have to have the whole loaf, just the crumb. And it's analogized by the woman that said, all I got to do is just touch the hem of his garment. Didn't need the whole thing. Didn't even embrace him. Didn't have to go with him and socialize and sit down and talk about this. Just touch that's part of this. I call it perpetuity of Christ, meaning the ability to Christ to provide you what you need, even if it's just a crumb, just a drop.
So I'm going to challenge you just a little bit.
All right.
Okay. Break that down for a person that may not know anything about the Bible right now, may not know anything about that specific story. I do have people that are in prison right now,
right,
in jail, listening to this, that may still be disconnected and on the fence. Speak to them in their language a little bit.
Well, jail is not, I don't have an official jail ministry. I'm trying to, I've spoken at the prison in Gatesville, done my stories.
Yes, sir.
And got real good response. I'm really praying about getting into that particular area. But I have a grandson that's probably going to be locked up the rest of his life. He just got involved with the wrong situation. But the people that are in prison have nothing to hang their heads about, because grace is powerful enough to give us whatever it is. David was a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
He was a murderer and a whoremonger. But the Bible said God regarded him as the apple of his eye because he knew how to pray. I'll share this with people as far as that is concerned. Many great men, many great women have been in prison, some for the right reasons, some for the wrong reasons. But prison can be a growth area for your life, i.e. Joseph. When he was put into prison, he made friends with a cook and a baker, and finally made it all the way to the top and got to address his people that put him there as brothers. He said, y'all meant it for evil, but God meant it for good.
Yes.
And the whole premise, I think the whole ideology of this is that even when people do you wrong, if God is for you, it'll work out for you good, because the scripture can't lie. So it's not going to be always. I'll share with people, just hang on, because all of us, whether we like it or not, we're in some type of prison.
Yes.
We're all on the same little marble we call the earth. And so we can't say, I'm going to break out of here. Break out to where?
Yes.
So everybody's in some type of enclosure that either we've chosen to be there by self-determination, or we've been put there because of circumstances.
Yeah. So what about that brother right now, or that sister that is in jail? They're listening to this and they're saying, I just got the crumbs. I want the loaf.
I want the loaf.
I want the loaf. Tell them how important the crumbs are.
Well, the crumbs are very important, because it takes crumbs to make the loaf. And so that's another part of the analogy of this. When you talk about the crumbs, I'm a crumb. If all the crumbs get together, we can make a viable meal.
Yes.
And share our talents one with the other. It's hard for me to say, well, you're going to be okay. Don't worry about it. I'm walking around free. I'm going to get my little kid and go back up the road to Waco in a little while. And I'm not confined in that area, but I have some confinements. I would just share with them, if they are believers, God has not forgotten them. And to find someone, it may just be one person, but find one person that you can talk back and forth. Encouragement is perpetual. It has to have give and take. But you find you one person that you feel safe enough with, that you can talk with, even if it's the worst thoughts in the world. share that with them, because you can't contain it yourself. It becomes a nightmare. It'll steal your sleep. It'll steal your joy. It'll steal your appetite. Purpose. Depression is very big in prison.
Yes.
I want to expand a little bit on that ideology that people are depressed, and not just necessarily in jail. When you listen to the song "Sitting on the Dock of the Bay,"
Otis Redding.
He was depressed. He wanted to kill himself.
Did
you listen to the words of that song? He said, "I got nothing to live for. It seemed like nothing going to come my way.
Yes.
So I'll just wasting time sitting here on the dock of the bay." Karen Carpenter. One of the greatest. She said, "Rainy days and Mondays get me down." Yeah. Andre Crouch. He sings "Because He Lives." I can face tomorrow. That meant that he thought tomorrow would never come. Because he lives, all fear is gone. That means he's been afraid. Because he lives. That song, you have to really listen to it and listen to the psychology of it. People write songs sometimes that really express their mood, if that's their gift. I do my best writing when when I'm down and out. That's how these old blues songs come out. I lost my baby last week, and I don't that stuff.
B.B. King, nobody loved me but my mama, but she could be driving me too.
Yeah, Lord. So I cannot sit and say, I'm gonna tell you everything's gonna be okay. I'm not the one sitting behind the bars. But there is hope. There's hope.
And what I'm taking from it, this is my analogy. Crumbs make the best stuffing.
They sure do.
Oh, they do.
They do. You cannot have good bread and pudding without the crumbs. You can't have good stuffing without the crumbs.
Yeah. It's amazing that, I deal with a lot of at-risk youth, and sometimes I tell them that they're probably in their assignment and they don't realize it. It's like the Creator has a way of bringing you your assignment in the midst of a crisis. Like you're literally in the midst of a storm and you get an assignment when you say, I can't take one more thing. And that's what I like to give to people. We're all going through something. But what is that something that you're going through trying to tell you? And I learned this from a good friend of mine. He's passed away, his mom, and she lost my friend, and then lost his brother a few years back, and then lost her husband about 15 years ago. And she just always said that, treasure the moments that you have on this earth, because everything could be taken from you in a lifetime. So again, for anybody that's out there battling with depression because of their situation where they're in, hey, brighter days are coming.
So true.
So true.
I do a variety of presentations. I'm not trying to do an infomercial for myself, but I do.
Please do.
I do a variety of things, such as bullying. I've been contracted for bullying. These are things that lead to depression. We've had some incidents here in Central Texas where others have been killed. And I saw you back that up. That I'm really trying to reach out to that school district. I've already reached out to Temple and Waco. I'm trying to work with them to get
I'll make the connection for you.
Yeah, make that. I really have a good thing on bullying. And also domestic violence.
Yes.
Domestic violence is not just germane to grown men. There's a lot of it in the teenage area, in the middle class up area, over relationships. Women and boys and girls that are abused by one or the other, are groups, which reaches a little bit beyond bullying. So it's a big factor right now. Depression is. I'm working with kids I'm working with kids up in the Waco area right now. My wife has just completed 49 years in education. And she was the first African-American, is the first African-American truancy officer there, and pre-court judge. And in fact, she's in court today. Works with a lot of kids. I mean, we've housed, fed, dressed a lot of kids, and doing it right now.
Yes.
And many of them have gotten to the point they didn't want to live anymore.
Yes.
So it's a big problem.
Yeah. And I respect that, because a life of service and a life of servitude, people have stepped away from that. Nobody wants to do the service role. No one wants to be the servitude role. It's just like they abandon ship and they watch the ship sink. But it's like you and your brother and myself and other people I know that's in the community, we take those buckets and we try to get the water out of the ship. And sometimes it's a very exhausting thing, because you'll turn around and you'll see people still drilling holes in the ship because they want the ship to sink.
So true.
So What's your advice, going through that?
Paul said it best when they were about to shipwreck at Malta. He says, because the guards wanted to abandon ship.
Uh-huh.
And they were heading toward the rocks. And Paul said this to them: except you abide in the ship, you cannot be saved. So I would say that's about life. I use that as a segue to life. You don't abandon ship. Stay put. And weather out the storm. Yeah. But if you jump ship, you have no hope.
Okay.
Yeah, you have no hope. Paul said it best. He said, unless you abide in the ship, you will not be saved.
Okay. Now I'm gonna play devil's advocate with a preacher. What about the ones that said the Titanic sank?
Well, they had lifeboats. They had lifeboats, man. Paul didn't have any lifeboats, but they had. I'll be honest. I'm not afraid of a lot of things, but I'm afraid if I'm going to go on a cruise, I'm not going on a cruise. It'd be just my luck. I'd be on the Titanic, or they'd have a tsunami or something. The closest I get to water is a tub, and so jacuzzi. I can see the wave coming. I've seen too many movies about it. I'm gonna take a trip on one of those big old boats one of these days.
I haven't been on one either.
I don't know if I'm going. She said,
she's always going somewhere. They always traveling around the world.
I heard about the boat running out of power in the middle of the water, and everybody getting sick and sharks floating around. I said, I'd be the one to jump in the water first. All right, Jaws, catch me the first. No, I can swim.
Oh, my goodness. My name is Dr. Rodney Duckett, and I'm having the time of my life here with a good guy by the name of Dr. George Harrison, and we'll be right back. Hey, we're back with the lively art of conversation, where we live, we learn, we earn. My goodness, we pass it along. Hey, if you have something that you need to get off your chest, if you have a book, if you have an event, or if you just want to be on the show because your story matters, reach out to me with livelyartofconversation@gmail.com. That's right, livelyartofconversation@gmail.com. I am here with Dr. George Harrison. The Harrison boys are always the first to do something in this area. So it's been a tribute to have him here with me today. But what I would like to do right now, he's talked about his life. He's talked about the lessons that he learned. But I want to talk about what he's gained and what he is passing on to the next generation.
I've mentioned before the segue of learning to stay in my lane and focus. I tell a story about a squirrel.
Okay.
You've seen little squirrels in the road where they're all laid over on their back?
Yes.
They got out of their lane.
Ooh, yes, they did.
If they'd have stayed over there under the trees, what you doing out in the middle of the road? That's not your lane. That's what happens in life. You'll get run over like by a truck if you get out of your lane, and learn how to drive in your lane. I'm trying to pass on right now. I'm mentoring at least 20, 25 other young ministers.
Okay.
And I've try to make available platforms them to come and preach, or to come speak, or to teach, and to differentiate between preaching and teaching, or ministry and leadership. I'm trying to perpetuate the ongoing of the church. We were at a meeting at Baylor last year. They were asking my definition of the church is we're here to save the lost or develop the saved.
Ooh.
It's very simple. Either we're saving folks or we're developing folks.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're in the choir, you haven't been developed. But either we're saving or we're developing. And so, and like I said, my partner in life, we have a very similar. I think she's more driven than I am, with helping younger people to succeed, either be via education or try to maintain contacts with different social groups. If their thing is not college, if their thing is not seminary, we talk about trade building, how to learn how to do a trade, how to develop a gift that you have. Can you write? Can you speak? Can you articulate well? What do you think you do well? And we build on those blocks. Anything you do well has a platform you to build a total living from it. And I advise all, become like yourself, Dr. Rodney. I almost call you King, Dr. Rodney. I don't know why every time I see him, I think about Dr. Martin Luther King.
Oh,
the
come
younger
on, man.
version. Every time I see you,
I can't fill those shoes at all.
Every time I see you, and a great man. You know what's about African history. I've never heard anybody like you, but I share with them. You've got to develop what you have.
Yes, and it's funny that you say that, and the wisdom that you're passing along. I run into a lot of guys sometimes, and I talk to people, and I'm not churchy like you, but but the guys that I do talk to, a lot of them are up and inspired ministers, and they're so worried about their ministry.
Right.
It's almost like social media type thing.
Exactly.
So what do you say to those young guys about their ministry that's worried about the lights and putting people in seats and things like that?
Well, ministry in many cases has metamorphosized into almost a production.
Yes.
Yes, almost. It's when I grew up, we had a church, had the windows open, swatting wasps and flies.
Yes.
Had no carpet, and but now it's almost like who can put on the biggest production. And somebody's going to get upset with me, but I'm going to say this. Homiletically, preaching wise, and I am a preacher, unless we start preaching Christ.
Okay.
Nobody can be saved. Everybody now is preaching how to get a car, how to get a wife, to get a job, get the money. It's all about prosperity.
Yes.
But unless there's, and I can defend myself with this. Preaching about Daniel in the lion's den is a great story.
Yes.
But it won't save you. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace. Great story. Motivational.
Yes, it is.
Christ in there. That's great. But it doesn't save you. Peter walking on the water. That's a great story.
Yes, it
But
is.
no salvation. There's only salvation in one name, and that's Jesus.
Okay.
And until we start preaching Jesus, his death, burial, resurrection, that is the gospel. Every time I do it, and I know I'll holler early Sunday morning, but there you go again, that old preacher, early Sunday morning. I say, but without the resurrection, there's nothing. All that is irrelevant.
Yes.
The Noah and all that's irrelevant. The splitting of the Red Sea, that's irrelevant. Those are acts that God has done to perpetuate his power.
Okay.
But the salvation thing is totally wrapped up in Jesus Christology. Unless we start preaching and teaching that's what I try to share, and I don't know, a sermon without Christ is like a car without a motor. And so that's kind of my drive. And at the end of the day, it scares that people have itching ears to hear fables. It's a great fable about David and Goliath, but it's not salvation in it. But people love to hear motivational stories. They like to hear testimonials.
Mm-hmm.
God woke me up this morning and healed my left leg and made my right eye see. That's great. That's great, but there's no salvation in it.
So where would you say that lack is coming from? Is it coming from the seminary schools, or is it coming from what they have seen so many times and it looks like it works, so I should just do it too?
Well, it's coming. There's a study called eschatology, prophecy.
Okay, eschatology. Yes,
That's
sir.
a prophetical study. I think it's coming from the prophecy that in the last days, men shall not be able to stand the truth. And then it adds on that amendment. They'll have itching ears to hear fables.
Okay.
And the last time you see something of that social structure is the last verse in the book of Judges, where it says every man did what he thought was right.
Okay.
And now many times all across the board, whether it's church or whatever, people do what they think is right rather than what the word says right. And that's where the glitch comes in. That's where the rub comes in, because it becomes addictive for you to walk in and there's the lights and everything's playing and you have a production going on. You'd be surprised with churches, and they're packed.
Yeah, and
I'm not down on it because it sounds like a jealous rage. Everybody wants a good crowd.
What I was going to say was, as long as I've been knowing you, you're not an adversarial person whatsoever. You've been open to a lot of things and meeting a lot of people. My good friend, Miss Lavina Sabri, which is Muslim, she loves you to death. She loves your brother to death, because you've always made her feel a sense of love and care about, in the mere fact that you're not ignorant. There's a lot of people that may be ignorant and not understand and know how to talk or rebuke people because, they worship different. You have always, you and your brother have always kept this neutral ground when you talk to people. It's the way you talk, the tone in which you talk in, because it's more of, it's not a square, it's a circle, and it's a hug type thing. So, and that's what I appreciate about you.
My philosophy is as Paul. Paul said this when they confronted him with some of these same questions. He said, I have become all things to all people. And he gives a reason to it, that I might gain some to Christ. It means I'm open to this group, that group, this group, that group, so that I might gain some to Christ. Meaning everybody's not going to be saved, but those that are. And that's another whole thing I'm starting to teach on, probably the election and predestination. I believe that God, being omnipotent, knowing past, present, and future, he knows who's going to choose him before he's created them. Therefore, he can make a preparatory work to say, I'm going away to prepare a place for you. Who's the you? I'm part of the you. That where I am, there you may be also. God knew before, I don't want to say King so bad, right? Dr. Duckett. Every time I see you, I see Martin Luther King, man. But he knew that you'd be here at this moment.
Yeah.
Eons before you were created. He said, before the mountain stood, I am God. I knew. He told the prophet, before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you, and I made you a prophet to the nations.
You know, it's amazing. When I was a little kid, this is kind of funny, but it's true. I was like kicked out of church, and because I asked too many questions. So I Morning Star Baptist Church, and
that sounds about right. I preached it.
So I wound up going to Oral Roberts University Leadership Academy with my good friend John McCoy. He was a gingerhead white dude, and there he was getting his doctoral at that time, and I didn't know him from Adam. I just thought he was a funny speaking, weird looking man from the Caribbean islands, Dr. Miles Monroe. He was teaching our Sunday school, and I remember
Miles Monroe. You sat under the feet of Miles Monroe.
I sure did.
My God.
And I remember when he taught Bible study, it was the first time that I said, I am actually learning something. And I remember him breaking down Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2. And he said, God said, work. Yeah. He said, work. And he defined what work is. Work his land. And then he went over to Psalms 23. And as in heaven, though as on earth. Work the land to create heaven on earth. This was his secret passage. Yeah. And he would always say, young man, get into your work. Do your work. You've come to do the work. And he would say you have a gift. And that gift is your work. So work your work because it's not yours. It was given to you. So it just forever stood with me as a man, you know. And Miles Monroe meant so much to me because he looked like me, but he was saying something different from the old preacher that was spitting on the microphone.
Hollering, hooping, I guess he was what I call a flexible preacher.
Yes, he was.
And I deem myself, I would not go to many of my colleagues do what they call their style is the hoop and the holler. Nothing wrong with it. Yeah. If you're preaching to a predominantly older black crowd or a black infused church, that's what they're used to. If that's what it takes to get the message to them, but I would not go like to Columbus, a First Baptist. I would not do that type of preaching. It would scare everybody to death. Yeah. and the purpose is not for me to show my prowess in preaching. Yeah. My purpose is to gain something to Christ. And so I know you got to learn how to preach, whether you're a Church of Christ, whether you're here. I learned the language. Yes. It's a language in every. It's so funny you said you got kicked out of church.
My argument was, how you gonna kick me out of church and I was born on December 25th?
There you go, on Christmas day. There was this boy. One of my stories I tell. There's this boy this man trying to get a church material real quick. This man trying to get a church. They was considering this preacher, so he comes in to preach and he says, the deacon said, what do you want to see first, Pastor? He said, I want to see the children. So he takes him to the little children's class and they were talking about the walls of Jericho. You heard that story?
Yes, sir.
And so the guy goes in, the preacher potentially, he says, children, who do y'all think tore down that wall of Jericho? And little Johnny jumps up and he says, doggone it. They blame me for everything around here, preacher. I'm telling you right now, I did not tear down that wall of Jericho. I don't care what. And so the teacher said, come on, Reverend. They tried to rush him out there. Little Johnny just talking and said, I didn't tear that wall down. And they're going to blame me, but I didn't. So they rushed him out and the guy preached and he's getting ready to go. So all of them followed him out to the car. The committee did, and they said, Pastor, we're so happy you're here. Hope you consider us. And I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to call a meeting. I don't know who tore down that wall of Jericho. We're going to find out before it's over.
Yes, sir.
They didn't know who tore it down either. They kicked the little boy to church.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. We are here with Reverend George Harrison, and we've learned so much within this hour. I really appreciate you, and thank you for sharing this moment in time with us. Is there any last thing you would like to say to the audience before we wrap this up?
I would say to know what you need to do. If something continually pops up in your mind, that's what, I don't care if you're, that probably is what part of your calling to do. And whatever you do, you got to prepare yourself for it. It's not going to fall in your lap. You got to use the right word. You got to work and gain knowledge toward it. Because if you're going to be in something, you got to know about it. Yes. I would say be prosperous and grow.
Most definitely. You know, this is Dr. Rodney Duckett. You're watching the Lively Art of Conversation, where we live, we learn, we earn. My goodness, he passed some nuggets along. Thank you for tuning in and watching us. We're every Sunday from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. And next week, I have my boys that I've been mentoring, some of them for close to a decade. They're seniors and they're getting ready to leave me. And I told them I'll put them on this platform. So join us next week as I bring in the Heritage Legacy Curators from Impact Outreach. Once again, thank you. Great blessings. God bless. See you next week.